No, what's really interesting though, Kyle and I, we started publishing this work as a means to connect more so with, this idea of community. I think Brooklyn in a lot of ways represents this kind of an arts community, a culture community. It's definitely a concentration of a lot of, Black people. But in terms of our culture, us all being kind of Black, LGBTQ, gay, queer people, whatever you'd like to call it, there's oftentimes like a lack of connection in the real world. There's so much happening online and in social media that we really wanted to do a project that was a case study in the power of community building. It became apparent to us after shooting a really small photo series called Bois in the Studio back in 2013 that we should do something larger and try to kind of mobilize and to also be inspired by one another. When working on this magazine, what's been really interesting is that, you hear a lot of it like, oh, I don't date Black guys because they're not like me. And I'm like, but what do you mean? We're so diverse. You know what I'm saying? So like even at this table right here, we all kind of do different things. We've got different personalities, but there's a level of understanding I think that comes from, having a lens of color. Like, would you say that you feel like the community is assembled or is it kind of disjointed?
I definitely would say the community is disjointed, and the advancements in technology with social media is not helping the cause at all, which is the cool thing about this project because it's causing us to connect and communicate in the real world.
That editorial is like a life that someone's living right there. It's not really about the Calvin Klein ad or things that's going on in there. It's about two men who are living next to each other in this manner, and they look like very domesticated. One looks like they're about to clean, but they're in this environment that they normally wouldn't be in, but this is normal for them. So the man that lives up there, it's just like, oh, I do this every day. This is what I look like. Now he has something to relate to.
The interesting thing is that when I was doing my thesis in college, I remember when I was designing the characters, I never really thought, it's strange to say, but I'd never really thought about race at the time in terms of the characters I was making. And, it was sort of like when I first started making it, it was this kind of generic looking character. And I had a conversation with my sister. She asked me, she was just like, oh, is the character Black? And simple question, but I never really thought about it, and I was just like, oh, well, I don't think I told her that, I didn't really think about it, and she just told me, she was like, it's something to consider, if you don't make it, then who else will? On a certain level, people growing up want to see images and things that they can relate to. This whole idea of showing that everyone has a different story, as you travel through the country, people, you'd be surprised at how many different stories are just floating out there. Granted, I had in my head I was like, okay, I have a few minutes to basically show people that, all over America, there's a different story for everyone. And, the idea of it is just to show progression and, we're all working toward the same thing.
Although we all come from different places, so we've got different kind of cultural lenses from our particular cities and towns. Brooklyn still does kind of funnel it into this, very contemporary kind of, glossy, hip kind of aesthetic.
Brooklyn you can be broke, as long as you have a dream and ambition and you want to work hard, you can live here and make a living. Brooklyn's definitely a lifestyle though. It's made being an artist that much easier, I think.
Right.
I definitely feel like living in Brooklyn has made me I kind of forget that I'm a Black gay male. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm just me. When someone asks masculine or feminine, it's I'm me, I'm gonna give you me all the time. And every day I feel like I'm inspired every single day, just even with my neighborhood and just appreciating the people who are around me, appreciating the artists who are around me, appreciating people who are just doing so many different things.
The brother moved to Fort Greene back in the 90s, the mid-90s. So in college, I would just come back. And at the time, it was considered Chocolate Chelsea. It was really the nucleus of the Black professional working set. So up and down Washington Avenue, Clinton, Greene, Gates, you just find all of these interesting Black gay men. Brooklyn's undergone some changes. We're undergoing some changes as a community. And I like the fact that it's very much about transition. I feel very like I'm in a transitional space. So thanks to all of you guys for making that happen.